Welcome to the Wilmington Chamber's podcast, your source for in-depth information about critical issues facing businesses in southeastern North Carolina. I am Natalie English. I'm president and CEO of the Wilmington Chamber. The Chamber is a nonprofit association of business owners, and we come together to advocate, to help them connect to the resources that they need, to develop leadership in our community, and to offer over 100 events every year for our members to participate in. Welcome. We are back for a second episode with regard to New Hanover County's strategic economic development, economic mobility report that has been recently released to the public. And so I'd like to introduce to you all Jennifer Rigby, who is Chief Strategy Officer for New Hanover County.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
And Robin Spinks, a Chamber Board Member with Greenfield Development.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. And my colleague, Josh Hallingse, who helps to lead our economic development work at the Chamber.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for being here. Jennifer, let's recap again. So what we've done, and maybe give a little bit of that highlight, if you would, again, for folks who might not have tuned in the first time we gathered, just for some of those successes from the previous economic development strategy that we created in our community and to where we are today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So previously, we had an economic development strategy. It was conducted in 2014 by J. Garner and Associates, and that economic development study really called out a lot of recommendations around product development and infrastructure development, and we've accomplished a lot in that space. We've extended water and sewer up 421. We've also developed a business park out at Blue Clay Road, and so we're working towards creating the products so that businesses can grow and expand here, also so that new businesses can come to this community. And so we've had a lot of great success with that. We've also done a lot of advocating around film industry, and so we've had a lot of good success with that recently. Over the past 2 years, we've had a lot of good announcements with films coming back to our community, which has been great. So we've had a lot of great successes. We've also experienced a lot since 2014, of course, with Hurricane Florence. And I know, Natalie, we were on the phone constantly trying to figure out during Hurricane Florence how to support our businesses and how to make sure that we were being responsive and helping them as they recover. Also with COVID-19, we spent a lot of time with that as well. And so
we got to see each other on a video screen then. No, it wasn't
exactly.
just on the phone.
Yes, quite frequently.
And COVID has changed everything in terms of business. I mean,
Sure.
it really has just really changed the way business is done and the
Sure.
impacts that it had.
Well, all the teleworking that's being done, I know at the county we've got, I think it's about 30% of our workforce that is teleworking now. And
Wow.
so it has changed a lot of business processes and practices. So all that to say, it was the right time for us to refresh our strategy and really kind of double down and figure out what we've done, how we've been successful, and where we need to go for the future.
Super. Robin, you've been in the economic development world in many different roles in your career.
Long time.
You've got lots of different perspectives, which you get to bring to our community. And you said before, many times I've heard you say how interesting this project was because you were at home working on that and the challenges and the opportunities that presented. We'd love to hear from you today about the trends that you see in economic development. What are you encouraged by for the future of our community, things that we're getting right?
Well, let me start by saying that some of the things that we found in terms of trends, particularly that were interesting, was that we have a very unbalanced economy here, and because of that, we felt like we needed to regrow the middle to show the opportunities. And I said a lot about that the last time, so I won't go into the details, but that's one of the reasons why we together determined to name this economic mobility, so that there would be a pathway for lower income workers to become higher income workers, not just to get a raise at where they are, but to actually improve themselves. I can't say enough about COVID and the things that happened with COVID that really changed. So we had remote working that you just mentioned, which has significantly boosted the population here. I can give you one stupid example about I live at the beach and my internet went to nothing about 2 weeks after COVID started because everybody was stuck at home, came and brought their children, and everybody's on the internet. Yeah. Fortunately, it was fixed quickly, but the Great Resignation really happened. A lot of people were at home working remotely and decided, hey, this is time for me to do something different. We've seen business registrations in North Carolina double from 2018 to 21. So, the actual number of them in between is even more. And So there's a ton of opportunity for Josh to go out there and find these folks who have moved here and are starting all these new businesses. In addition to, but it also created some issues about labor participation. And so because they quit their job and started their own business, they don't necessarily show up as an employee. So it makes our data look a little unusual to see that's down, but our labor force is actually growing because the population's growing. It's just the participation rate has gone down. The supply chain disruption, which everybody has seen, has created some really significant opportunities for us as a port and as a manufacturing center. So some really interesting data along those lines. ThomasNet, which is the company that is the information hub for manufacturers primarily, surveyed their companies in North America that had facilities overseas. 83% of them intend to bring that work back to the United States. 83%.
Wow.
It's huge. So we looked very carefully at what were the top 25 imports and exports in and out of North Carolina. What commodities were they? What sectors were they? Those are great opportunities that we know are going to happen. And ThomasNet told us also, which types of things we're going to be reshored. So all of those, we're growing, and because we're growing, the land is getting eaten up, and so we've got to really think extremely long term about promoting or protecting, I guess would be a better word, the industrial opportunities and the commercial land that we have. It's very little left.
It would be so easy for us to start overbuilding homes. Not that there's a chance we could overbuild homes in our community right now as fast as we're growing and as many people who need access to homes, and do that instead of the protecting the current industrial and commercial land that we have would be a detriment to our tax base. It's a win, right, in local government circles to have significant commercial and industrial tax base to balance what you have to charge your citizens for property taxes and things like that.
Right. So it's anyway, those are sort of the primary trends that we saw that impacted the report. There are lots of other details, but those are the main things.
So during Florence, actually it goes back to 2016 when I interviewed for this opportunity, and the search committee was very interested in work that I had been a part of in Charlotte around existing business. And in conversations during Florence, elected officials would ask, how many businesses have we lost? And the only answers I could give them were, I can tell you how many chamber members I've lost and how many of those is because they went out of town. But we don't have an existing business retention and expansion program in the county. And so then again, when the pandemic hit, we had those same conversations. And so that's one thing I think that we are doing better now. What else would you say?
I need to say something about that. I really need to say something about that and thank the county for fixing it, because over time, we have several economic development organizations, WBD and the Chamber and Downtown and the Tourism Group. And the county fixed the problem by WBD is the primary economic development organization, as we talked about earlier, that goes after the big projects. And so that's obvious. But as a result, because there wasn't anybody really paying attention to the smaller ones, there was a lot going unrecognized. And so by creating a place for the chamber and the WBD to have a line of demarcation and know who does what and really focus on what you do best, WBD is the best around for project management. They really are. But the chamber is where the advocacy needs to happen so the community knows what needs to be done and to take care of their existing businesses, and particularly the small ones, and help them grow. So the fact that y'all put the money in the right places to make that happen, I think, is a really important thing. And obviously downtown and tourism also are significant marketing opportunities for tourists to say, hey, I want to come here and maybe I want to bring my business and stay here.
Well, and to clarify, it wasn't only the demarcation, but also the investment so
Absolutely.
that we could bring in
What I said, put the money
very
in.
qualified, experienced economic developer.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, and from the county's perspective, it was all about capacity building, right?
Yes.
You know, we have great economic development partners here in this community. And we realized during COVID, during Hurricane Florence, we just needed more capacity. And so it's
And cooperation,
really, yes.
which is great now.
Yes.
It really works great.
Right, really leveraging all of our resources and growing our capacity. Yeah.
That's one of the fun things about a chamber of commerce. We're often seen as the front door for small businesses, where usually someone that's new to the community or someone that's trying to learn a little bit about a specific opportunity will plug into a chamber. It's just the natural funnel for small business primarily. And so it's been a great launching point for our initiative on the small business side, but also just being able to be proactive now, reach out to non-chamber members because we need them engaged. We need their leadership in the community, and we really need their feedback on things that are going right and things that need improvement. So it's been a great opportunity for us to expand those services.
And the coordination goes even as far as website. So one of the recommendations, which y'all have already gotten started, which I think is great, is a website that all the organizations sort of feed to, and then it feeds out. And because so many places, the chamber is the main economic development organization. In other parts of the country, it's structured a lot of different ways. And so, but everybody's got a chamber. And so especially if you're not working with a site consultant, the first place you're going to ask is the chamber. And then y'all can be the front door, as you said, to pass it to the appropriate folks. And that I just think that's same data, using common data. It's going to be great. Will work well.
It will. It will, absolutely. So, Josh, let's talk a little bit more about business retention and expansion. If you could maybe just give us a quick snapshot. We won't have time to go into it in great detail for this show. We'll hold it for our next episode. But if you can give a little introduction to tease everybody with.
Yeah, so I think the core of any economic development strategy is really that business retention opportunity. It's where you can reach out to your business owners, have personal, confidential conversations about their business, what they're seeing, what's maybe keeping them up at night more often than not. And so that's really been my charge over the last, I guess it's been about 6 or 7 months here on the ground here in Wilmington, is reaching out, building those relationships with those small businesses in New Hanover County that are already here, already made that decision to locate here, and try to get an understanding of what those challenges are. A lot of it is capital, so finance, being able to access funding when they're looking at expansion. Workforce is obviously top of mind for everybody right now, and I think it's been discussed in prior podcasts. But with everybody having more choices or more opportunities, everybody's clamoring around how to retain top talent, how to grow and prepare for the next generation of talent. So trying to make those connections with some of our workforce partners, Cape Fear Community College, UNCW, has been a lot of fun for me, because that's really the cutting edge of economic development, I think, is that labor side.
It's the biggest problem for everybody everywhere in this
Yep.
United States of America, and it's a demographic issue.
That's
Yes,
it.
it is. Yes, it is.
And then also leading into the product development side, and maybe beyond just the retaining of existing companies and helping build that relationship and that network is going out and calling on companies that would be a great fit for Wilmington, being strategic and targeted, so going after fintech and some of those niche sectors that we think have a lot of opportunity here. But also on the product development side, and I think Jennifer and the county have done a lot of work on this in the past, but product development is limited, obviously in a smaller county, geography-wise. So trying to be on the tip of the spear and trying to plan infrastructure investments, but also having conversations around land use and where things can go and not go, and those are all fun and interesting conversations to be a part of. But they're headaches for small business when their core business is just trying to generate revenue and deliver great service. The product development, real estate, can sometimes be an issue that they just aren't focused on until it's a priority, and that's where I think the chamber, working with our partners at WDI and WBD, can be very impactful.
Thanks, Josh. We're going to dive into a little bit more detail, some of the interesting projects that Josh has had the opportunity to work on already, and then have a conversation again with you ladies about our economic mobility strategy here in New Hanover County. And so that's all the time we have for today. I'm Natalie English, President and CEO of the Wilmington Chamber, and this podcast is your source for in-depth information about the critical issues facing our business community.
Yay!